another special edition of Tween Book Bites here at the Scott County Public Library. As always, I am Miss Kelly. This is Miss Mary Lou.
Hello.
And today, again in conjunction with our Holocaust exhibit, we are bringing to you some books about featuring Jewish protagonists. Or just so, but not Holocaust books this time.
Yeah, our last book bites was on Holocaust fiction.
Yes.
And this time we're doing books more about Jewish culture, Jewish history, Jewish family life, Jewish fantasy. Yes.
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 Yes. I enjoyed my books a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So the first one I'm going to talk about, now this book reads a little bit younger than typically Tween. Although I think I enjoyed it, I think a Tween would enjoy it too. This would be a great family read aloud. It's called All of a Kind Family, and it's by Sydney Taylor, and it's the first in a series. These books were written quite a while ago.
That book was published quite a while ago.
This copy book we put in our collection in 1990.
That book is as old as I am.
This book, however, was written in 1951, which was before I was born, so it's been around for a while. But it's a very sweet family book, and it's about Jewish life in the Lower East Side of New York City, where a lot of Jewish immigrants lived in the right around the turn of the century. Right, I think this takes place beginning in 1912, and it's just it's this family. They're kind of poor, like many of the families that lived in that part of the city. It was a big center of immigrant communities. They're poor, and there's 5 daughters, and the book is, follows them over the course of, I think, about a year, and hard times and the good times and everything kind of in between. But you get a look at what Jewish life was like back in that time. So, All of a Kind Family, great read aloud family book. I meant to bring the book with me and I just forgot. Last year they came out with All of a Kind Hanukkah, kind of a longer picture book that somebody has, obviously Sydney Taylor didn't write it, but based on the characters in this book. So All of a Kind Family by Sydney Taylor. Very, very nice read.
Yes. And Sydney Taylor is important because I see one on your book, and I know at least one of mine, two of mine have
One,
the...
2, 3.
Uh-huh.
And I think both of these might get it.
Yeah, so the American Library Association now does the Sydney Taylor Book Award, and they are books that celebrate Jewish life. So,
Named for Sydney Taylor, the writer.
Yep. So, my first book is Anya and the Dragon. This is the book 1 in a duology. It's by Sophia Pasternak. I am not finished with it because I didn't work yesterday and I left it at work, so I couldn't read it. But it's really good. I read like 100 pages in like one sitting. So we follow Anya. This is historical fiction. It's set in Russia, but it's also there's a dragon. There are fantastical creatures, so it is also a little bit. It's fantasy, and it's so fun. So Anya lives in a small village. The Tsar has come and conscripted all the men of appropriate fighting age, and so it's her mom, her grandparents, and they live out on the far edge of town. They're the only Jewish family in the town, and it's just kind of understood that everybody has magic in this particular community and the world, really. But the Tsar has outlawed it, so it's kind of delightful because the entire town is like, don't get caught, and we don't care, because we're down here, who cares. But then one day she's out pulling onions, and there is this crazy serpent snake thing, and she's trying to use some magic to make it go away, because it's going to attack her and her goat. And this boy she's never seen before, which is very unusual in a small village, comes out and is like, I can help! And she's like, oh no. If this serpent is scared off, everything's fine, but she's like, this boy is trouble. She encounters him again later, and it turns out he and his family it's a family of fools. And they have dispensation from the Tsar. They're allowed to do magic, and they are here hunting because they've heard that there is a dragon. And Ivan, the boy, and his family, and his father is named Ivan, and all of his brothers are named Ivan, so they end up getting called like fourth. I think the Ivan that she first encounters, if I remember, is Ivan the 7th. He has 5 brothers and his dad. It's a lot, and there's twins. There's too many Ivans. But they realize that she knows the area, so they're like, hey, I will pay you if you like help us try and find this dragon, because this is gonna be a big deal. And then there's also this like crazy giant like knight dude that's trying to clearly find the dragon, that they kind of, Anya throws a horseshoe at him, and that doesn't end very well, but it's okay, it's fine, nobody gets hurt. And so they're going on something of an adventure, but it also shows little moments like Anya is creating the is it challah or challah? Challah, the bread. And so things like that. And so there's just, it's delightful and also fantastical. I can't wait to actually meet the dragon. She saw like a glimmer out of the corner of her eye at one point and was like, it was just a fish. I don't think it was a fish.
I'm going to be talking about another book by the same author. It's one of the best tween fantasy books I've read. Just a great writer.
Yeah, delightful.
So the next 2 books I'm going to talk about, they're also historical, but they take place at about the same period of history, which is the 1980s in Russia, in the Russian-controlled territories. I've talked about this book before if you've watched our previous book buys. This is The Genius Under the Table by Eugene Yelchin. I just love this book. And it's actually a memoir. We've got it in our teen fiction section, our tween fiction section, because it reads more like a novel, but it's actually autobiographical of his growing up in the Soviet Union in the 1970s and 80s. Life for Jewish people in the Soviet Union has always been really difficult. Jews were severely persecuted, violently persecuted, long before the Holocaust. And, my guess is it's still going on today. Both of these books, again, 1980s, and deal with some of the persecution of Jews in the Soviet Union. Eugene's parents were both Jewish. They both were very talented people, but they could only rise so high in their career because Jews were not allowed to move up beyond a certain level. His father was in the military. His mother was in the ballet theater. She was a dancer herself. For anybody who knows anything about ballet, she worked with Mikhail Baryshnikov, one of the greatest male dancers that's ever lived. So he's a character in this book. But Eugene Yelchin, his parents desperately want him to be special because life is so hard if you don't have some special talent. And his brother becomes actually an Olympic level figure skater. Eugene just doesn't seem to have any talent for anything. But the thing about the apartment they lived in, the apartment was shared by many families. You were only allowed one room in the apartment. So his whole family, they got the living room. And in addition to the other families that occupied the other rooms, you share the bathroom, you share the kitchen. There's a KGB agent, which is kind of the same thing as having like a CIA agent, but Russian government. Lived in the apartment. Every apartment had their own agent that spied on the families who lived there. So every night they would move all the furniture out of the living room and so they could put down, sleeping bags and stuff. And Eugene got to sleep under the dining room table. And at some point, I'm trying to find the picture, his parents find out that he is drawing on the underneath of the table. And he kind of illustrates his life under the table. And you can see, here's his dad moving the couch and his mother and all these pictures.
Is it his mom on the front cover being like, oh?
Yes. And here he is under the table. But he draws on the underneath of the table when he's sleeping under there. He stole his father. His father loved to write poetry. The only pencil his father owned, he stole it so he could draw. And all the illustrations in here are from his memory of the pictures he drew under the table when he was a boy. But his parents do finally figure out that this is his talent. He is a very, very good writer and a very delightful illustrator. This book is dark. It's very dark because their life is very dark. But he's so funny. He writes it with a great deal of humor and love. He's just one of my favorite writers. So, and briefly, this particular book, it's called Blackbird Girls, and this is written by Anne Blankman. And I don't know if you all have ever heard about a nuclear power plant disaster called Chernobyl. It has come back in the news again because of the war in Ukraine. The Chernobyl power plant belonged to the Soviet Union when the Soviet Union was still a whole conglomerate of countries that they controlled. If the Soviet Union broke up, Ukraine got its independence. Now Russia's trying to take it back, and that's what that war is about. However, at that time, this plant that belonged to the Soviet Union was in Chernobyl, Ukraine, and there was a huge meltdown, which means the water system that cooled off this nuclear waste, it quit flowing, the whole thing melted down. It was a nuclear disaster. Many of the workers got killed. And this is about a girl, her name is Valentina, and she is a Jewish girl living there in Chernobyl with her family. Her father works in the power plant, and of course he was killed when the thing melted down. And they're rounded up to be evacuated. There is a girl in her school, her name is Oksana, and she has bullied Valentina mercilessly about her Jewishness. It's very oppressive. People, the Russian non-Jews hated the Jews and treated them very badly. And she's just made Valentina's life a nightmare. When it's time to evacuate, Oksana's mother has had a radiation exposure and she cannot evacuate. And so Oksana is forced to evacuate with Valentina. And this book is about their journey evacuating and the friendship that's born out of it when Oksana finds out how much of what she learned about Jewish people was completely untrue. Really, really, really good book. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and it also has the Sidney Taylor Award, as does this one.
Mm-hmm. My next one is a graphic novel. I'm very happy. I have 2 graphic novels I can talk about today, which is delightful. This one is called The Unfinished Corner by a variety of people, written by Danny Coleman, illustrated by Rachel Tuna Petrovics, and many other people involved. It takes a lot of people to make a graphic novel most of the time. So this book, The Unfinished Corner, follows a group of students, mostly Miriam. She's our main character. She wakes up, it's her 12th birthday, which is like approximate her, it's the coming of age for Jewish boys and girls. Means that they're an adult in Jewish culture. It's that time you have either a bar mitzvah if you're a boy or a bat mitzvah if you're a girl. In most of my books, I didn't even mention it, but Anya is 11. She's about to turn 12, so they're talking about her bar mitzvah. And my next, all of them.
It's in several of my books.
The age for tweens it's in most of these books.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
I think the girls in this were already 13, so she'd already probably
done it.
So,
yeah. Yes. So in Jewish mythology, it says that God left a tiny little corner of the universe unfinished, I'm not sure why, but it's definitely filled with monsters. And Miriam wakes up, her 12th birthday. It's the day of a school trip. They're supposed to go to Washington, D.C., but halfway there, I really like this illustration on the back cover because it just really, it just is perfect. The van driven by their rabbi, this group of kids, suddenly they're like, I don't have cell phone service. What is happening? And they're like, I don't either. What's going on? Yeah, their van is just kind of teleported to the unfinished corner. And so they have to figure out why they're there, deal with all the monsters, and then also maybe finish the unfinished corner. And it's just really fun. I had no idea at all about this part of Jewish culture. The idea of mythology, rather, that there was an unfinished corner of the universe. It's very intriguing. It's really fun. I've got Miss Yolanda reading it right now, which is when there's a post-it note in it.
Nice. Well, I've got a couple of fantasy books. I have another book too. I'll just skip that one. I had Sweep too.
Oh yes,
that's not
you do love that one.
I love that book. But I'm going to talk about 2 fantasy books. This one, Blackbird Blue Road, again, Sidney Taylor Award, and written by Pasternak, Sophia Pasternak, who wrote Anya. This is one of my very favorite tween fantasy books. I just love this book. And this takes place several hundred years ago in what is now Ukraine. And our main character, her name is, I love this book so much I can't remember her name. Her name is Ziva. And this is her. It's got a great cover. And her brother Pessa. They're twins. And it is their 12th birthday. And her family is very wealthy. Her father's a really important man in the community. And they're throwing this huge party. The hope is that Ziva's going to marry the rabbi's son. He's at the party, and Ziva wants no part of it. Ziva, the person she loves most passionately is her brother, Tessa, who is in the late stages of leprosy. And he's kept isolated. She's the only person who goes near him anymore because at that time leprosy was thought to be so contagious. And he is dying, and she has overheard her parents saying that they're going to send him to a leper colony to finish out his life, and she's furious. She believes that there is some way to make him get well. So she kidnaps him and sneaks off in the night, runs away with her brother, with her very sick brother. She manages to get a cart and horse, and they're running away, and it doesn't go well. They are attacked by a bunch of bandits who want to steal everything they have, dump Pessa by the road, and take Ziva and sell her for who knows what. They also have a boy with them, a teenage boy who is, they send in there into her cart to get something, and he offers to help them. If she'll just break this bowl, he'll get them set free. That's a good deal. She knows they're going to kill Pessa. So she breaks the bowl, and then all of a sudden, and this boy, this teenage boy, grows wings and arms, and oh my gosh, he's a shade. He is half shade and half human, and shade is a demon from Jewish folklore. And he gets this enormous sword, and he's killing the bandits and chasing them off, and then when it's all over, he kind of goes back to a teenage boy again. And he offers to take them to a city where the angel of death is not allowed. Mm-hmm. And in that way, Pessa can continue living. So he says, okay. So, but being excellent fantasy, not all is what it seems to be. And they make this journey, and that's what the book is about, is this journey they take. There's also a little romance, like philosophy, between a human girl and a half demon, half human. It's just really, really nice. But it's a beautiful, complex, rich fantasy. And I learned Jewish folklore I didn't know before. And the next one is The Witch of the Woodland, and this one is by Laurel Snyder. This is a contemporary story, and it's full of all kinds of contemporary angst.
What else has she done? Why do I know?
She did Orphan Island, which I loved that book.
Okay.
She did another one.
Okay.
Anyway, she's a really good writer, and this is about Zippy. Zipporah is her name, and this is one where she is preparing for her bat mitzvah. She's turning 12. Now, Zippy is an odd misfit of a girl. She's always like dresses in black and has long hair. It's because she's a witch. And she's always, as a child, she played witch, and her peers thought that was really fun when they were in kindergarten, but by the time they got to middle school, they were kind of tired of it, thought she was just really weird. She has one good friend, B, but B's getting really tired of her too, because B kind of wants to see what it's like to be cool. So Zippy's going through middle school total rejection. She's absolutely lost all of her friends. And the one thing she has is her magic, and she has her little witch kid and that kind of thing. But her mother wants her to prepare for a bat mitzvah. They're not a devout family. They don't go to temple except on the holidays, and like Zippy doesn't really want to do it. Their mom makes her do it, but she found her rabbi is fabulous. He's just a fabulous guy. But anyway, at some point she conjures up accidentally. She doesn't really know how to use all these powers yet. She conjures up this girl, like just out of the air, with wings. She's kind of almost translucent. She's very frail and small. This girl has wings, and she has no memory. She doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what she is. She doesn't know where she came from. And Zippy doesn't know how to send her back. So this book is going to follow both Zippy preparing for her bat mitzvah and understanding deeper what it means to be Jewish. This wonderful rabbi, but also the history of sorceresses in Jewish folklore and scripture. And so she's trying to go back and understand the Hebrew so she can understand where she fits into this culture. It's delightful, a really delightful book. And you learn about, like, what is a bat mitzvah and what do you have to do to prepare for a bat mitzvah. Really good. Which of the one?
Nice.
Yeah.
My next one, also contemporary, and Cindy Taylor. This one was a winner. The gold is the pick-me. The silver is this is really good. This was the best of the best for this particular year. This is Aviva versus the Dybbuk by Mari Lowe. So Aviva is part of a very, very Orthodox Jewish community. So like her mother and all the women in her community all cover their hair. They either wear wigs or they wear some sort of head covering, and which is not something that most people think of when they think of Jewish. But yes, so different sects of Judaism, and her Aviva is also very much the odd child out. She wasn't as a little girl. She had lots and lots of friends. Her parents were great, and then her father dies. You don't really know what happened, but it was clearly very traumatizing because anytime that Aviva even hears police sirens, she freaks out. And after that happened, Aviva and her mom end up living in oh no, I forgot the word. In the there is a particular type of pool that there we go, the mikveh, that is used for religious cleansing purposes. And so Aviva's mom runs the mikveh, and for women there would be a separate one for men. Actually, I say that, I don't know if that was true. I think it might just be for women.
Ritual bathing.
Yes.
In Orthodox Jewish culture.
Yes. And so her mom runs that, and that's how they support themselves. Aviva, well, this mikveh came with a dybbuk, which is, in Jewish mythology, a spirit that has died and can't pass on. They're not evil per se, but very mischievous.
You're going to learn about those in this book.
Yeah, I would say more like a poltergeist almost, just out to cause little bits of havoc, but not evil. And this dybbuk is what really, alongside Aviva's father dying, is really what kind of drew a line between her and all her friends, because they're like, you're crazy, a dybbuk? Come on now. No, there's not a dybbuk. You're done. But Aviva can see it, and it causes all sorts of havoc. It rips up checks that her mom has gotten as tips. It puts soap and water everywhere and causes crazy bubbles. It puts colored laundry in with whites and dyes everything. I know, right? So it's not again, not evil. It's just mischievous. It's annoying. And so she is running around everywhere trying to deal with what these nonsensical tricks that the dybbuk is pulling. All the while, her mom is in a really deep depression. Doesn't hardly ever leave the mikveh. Doesn't like Aviva to go anywhere. And Aviva and her former best friend Kayla, they get into a bit of a fight in a game of ball, which it's a particular game. I do not remember the thing, but it's like dodgeball, but slightly more elevated. There are more rules and more areas. Aviva's real good at it, and so is her former best friend Kayla, and they're playing at school one day, and Aviva's anger gets the best of her, and she manages to pelt another girl in the face, and doesn't quite break her nose, but pretty much. And so Kayla and Aviva are taken to the principal's office, and she's like, girls, you used to be best friends. I remember. What is happening? And they're like, And she's like, okay, well, so you definitely can't try out for the team now. And also, as punishment, you two are going to work together to make your classmates very excited about this bar mitzvah party that we're throwing that has always been like a daddy-daughter dance, basically, except this year they're changing it to a mommy-daughter dance, and everyone is blaming Aviva because she no longer has her father. So they have to kind of work together, dealing with but it's kind of nice because the shenanigans of the Divic actually it brings the girls together, and they're trying to figure out what's going on in the mikveh while also like working on it. It kind of is like they make an escape room almost for the game, and all their classmates are like, "This is super exciting! Oh my gosh!" Okay, now we're really into it. But yeah, and you learn more. You learn a lot about Orthodox Judaism, which
is really interesting.
Yeah. There's also a lot of religious persecution. It's not quite the right word. Harassment is more correct, but it's really, really, really good. I was surprised. I didn't think I was gonna like it. I don't love the cover. It's very boring, and quite frankly, this cover has nothing to do with this book. So I don't know why they did that, but it's real good. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Sometimes you can, like with this one.
Yeah, that is a good cover.
Well, I've got one more book, and it's called The Jake Show, and it's by Joshua S. Levy. And this is a very contemporary book. In fact, it's still got it's got its pink tape and its gold star, and this is very contemporary in that it takes place in this time period. Jake is a child of divorced parents, and they are angry, still fighting divorced parents. And he is caught in the middle. His parents are Jewish, and after they got divorced, his mother became very conservative Jewish, Orthodox. You're going to, again, see some Orthodox practices in here. His father became increasingly secularized, really kind of leaving behind his Judaism. He is remarried, and his new wife is not even Jewish, which within the Orthodox community that is, would just not be done. His mother is remarried also to an Orthodox man. But the step parents, they're great. They're just great. They kind of become Jake's saviors. But anyway, Jake literally contorts himself to try to fit into these two worlds. And then the third world is with his peers. So he's got like these three different worlds. And one of the things that Jake does, he loves television, which when he's with his mother, she doesn't have a TV in the house. Orthodox Jews do not watch television. But he loves TV, and he envisions his life as a TV script. So he's constantly thinking about how this fits into the typical, stereotypical plot of a TV show. And it's kind of funny. But when he's with his mother, he's wearing this black suit. He is very serious. You can see him here with his glasses.
That's a good cover.
Yeah.
I like it.
And he's just becomes very, very serious. When he's with his father, he's just cool, Jake. You know, he's just grooving. You know, he puts away he has to wear a yarmulke because he goes to a Jewish school, but you know, he doesn't wear the black velvet one. He has different yarmulkes that express different personalities. And then when he's with his friends, he's just a dude. You know, he's going to an Orthodox. It's a more liberal Orthodox school. He's bounced around so many schools because his parents are constantly fighting. And the judge says, "Okay, it's your turn, you pick," and then it's your turn and you pick. And the judge, I mean, he's just like being juggled in the air, and it's just really, it's killing him. It's just, you really feel for him how hard it is to try to fit in. And he develops these friendships, and they cook up a scheme to get him to their liberal Jewish camp for the summer. And he's going to set up fake websites and tell each parent, you can guess it may not work too well. But anyway, the Jake Show, and this is as much about how difficult it can be for kids of divorce when the parents don't work together. But you're also going to learn, he's preparing for his bar mitzvah, and you'll learn a lot about the differences in Jewish sects, about how they look at the world, how they live their life. That part was super interesting to me. The Jake Show by Joshua S. Levy, and those are my books.
My last one is perfectly fitting after that. This is Two Tribes by Emily Bowen Cohen, and this is the story of Mia. This is not a memoir, but it is heavily based on the creator's personal experience as a Jewish and Muskogee person. So Mia is the child of divorced parents as well. Her mother is Jewish, which is, if I understand correctly, how the Jewish line is passed through the mother anyway. So she's Jewish through her mother. Her father was Muskogee, or is Muskogee, and they are divorced. They do not even live in the same state anymore.
Which is a Native American tribe, right?
Yes, the Muskogee tribe, yes. And her stepdad they're relatively Orthodox, not like super strict, but fairly Orthodox. And so she's at a Jewish day school, and she is the only person of indigenous blood there, so obviously they're like, she gets some crap for that from classmates. It is coming up timed for her bat mitzvah, so she's working through that, but at the same time, like, she feels like she doesn't understand her Muskogee roots at all, and so she and her best friend hatch this plan that with all of the money that she has gotten in presents for her bat mitzvah, she buys a ticket to to go see her father while she is supposedly on a trip with school. Understandably, that did not go very well, because she tells her mother one thing, and she tells her father, oh yeah, mom knows I'm here, it's no big deal, don't worry about it, isn't this exciting? And she has a great time. Like, she gets to see her grandmother again, she gets to see her new half-siblings, her stepmom's really cool, and she learns so much about her Muskogee heritage. It's great, but divorced parents who were completely different people, and learning who she is and how. My favorite part is that because she's working on her bat mitzvah, she is taking both sides of her heritage and seeing how much they actually overlap, and that they really do go together very well. It's delightful, and it's pretty because it's a graphic novel. So highly suggest. That's what we got for you today.
We still have more. If you're looking for books that you want to learn more about Jewish culture, please come see us.
Yeah,
because we got suggestions.
we'll find you stuff.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.